What's happening, my fellow geeks and geekettes? Welcome to a brand new episode of Cosplay. Chris, and today it's my top picks for live action costumes from superhero films in 2022. So it's been a bit of a mixed bag in terms of critical reception, fan reception for superhero films throughout 2022, but you can always rely on the costumes usually being out there and being really good and being sometimes the best part of the film. So for a bit of fun, I thought I'd do my personal top costumes of the year for 2022. With that being said, I'd love to hear your top superhero costumes, live action superhero costumes for that matter, down below in the comment section. I have 7 costumes here, but before we get to that, I want to give an honorable mention to the Mr. Fantastic costume and the Captain Carter costume from Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. This is one of those things where it's teasing at its finest, especially when it came to John Krasinski being Mr. Fantastic. That was a fan casting that happened and came to fruition through Marvel and Disney. I couldn't believe it happened. I had no idea it was going to happen when I saw the film. Usually I try to stay out of leaks and spoilers and stuff like that, and I was pretty good and stayed pretty safe when it came to Multiverse of Madness. But as soon as Krasinski showed up on screen in that beautiful Mr. Fantastic costume, I fell in love with it, and I also fell in love with the fact that he was cast as Mr. Fantastic in that film. I have no idea if he's going to be in any other further Fantastic Four films. The going rumor is Marvel have not approached him since Multiverse of Madness, which is really sad, because I think he'd make a fucking phenomenal Mr. Fantastic, and I think his wife, Emily Blunt, would be an incredible Sue Storm. The fact that they're husband and wife, they already have the chemistry, it's right there. And then the Captain Carter costume was so badass. She looked amazing in it, even though she had a very untimely death and a very brutal death at that. We went from the Marvel What If interpretation of Captain Carter to the live action, and it was just oh so good. So coming in at number 7, while we're on the topic of Multiverse of Madness, is Doctor Strange's costume from Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Now, the Doctor Strange films have always been a bit of a mixed bag, so to speak, but you can always rely on his costume looking absolutely top-notch. Benedict Cumberbatch sells it. Not only does he look like Doctor Strange, but he just wears that costume so well. It is such a beautiful representation of different mediums, layers, lots of layers.
Layers!
The suit looks incredibly hot and heavy, especially that cape. But when you see set photos, high-res photos, you look at all the beautiful, intricate detail. You see the costume on display at like a movie premiere or in a museum, in a prop museum, even up for auction. You see these details that you don't see on screen, that no one will probably ever see, but the costuming department, the costume designers, have just gone ahead and just created something so intricate and so beautiful. And it's one of those things where you go back and look at it, you find something new each and every time. And it has had changes throughout the films, throughout his appearance in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and each time it just looks incredible. Coming in at number 6 is Black Panther, or in this case, Shuri from Black Panther Wakanda Forever, played by Letitia Wright. This is a much more streamlined, leaner version of the Black Panther. What I love is that they stay true and pay respect to the original Black Panther costume, but add different elements to it, different trimmings and stuff like that. It's a beautiful representation of that lovely textured fabric that I just absolutely adore, because it all started with Batfleck. The gold and silver, I'm guessing urethane accents that are placed upon this lovely textured fabric just highlight and accentuate the nice, lean, muscular build of Letitia Wright, and her stunt double, of course. The helmet itself looks great and also just highlights certain feminine aspects of it, and I just really dig it. It looks really good. It looks really good in action. It is a bit jarring to see the physical change from Chadwick being very, very big, very, very wide, to Letitia Wright being a lot more leaner, but it's one of those things where once your eyes adjust to it, it's pretty cool, and the costume looks great on screen. Coming in at number 5 is Scarlet Witch from Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. We started with something in Age of Ultron that was just very, I wouldn't say plain Jane, but it was a start. It was the start of what would be an incredible evolution of Scarlet Witch's costume, played by Elizabeth Olsen, who is just incredible in the Multiverse of Madness. She looks like she's having an absolute ball. But the costume is something so beautiful and striking to look at, especially when you're dealing pretty much with just one color, even though it's different shades of a certain color. The costume designers, the costumers, The artisans have done an incredible job. It is a perfect example of mixed media. You've got a lot of fabrics, leathers, urethanes, resins going on here, a lot of 3D printing, especially when it comes to that incredible breastplate. I love the damage, the battle damage, the weathering, the continuity that they keep with the costume throughout the film is incredible. By the end, it has all those nice rippling cracks throughout the torso armor, and including her headpiece. Everything just works so well together. It moves very well. It looks like Elizabeth Olsen is able to do, you know, a lot of crouching. And like with Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange, it helps when you have an actor who just completely sells the role. And when she's that volatile in the film as well, the costume is a representation of how she's feeling. Essentially, she's seeing red throughout the film, and so are we in that beautiful costume. Coming in at number 4 is Chris Hemsworth's Thor armor from Thor: Love and Thunder. Now, the film isn't exactly the greatest, but that costume is so damn beautiful. Made by Weta Workshop in New Zealand. There's an incredible behind the scenes video, like little video featurettes that Weta have done with the construction of it. There was a lot of 3D printing, a lot of casting in urethane, but also mixed media at its finest. You have fabric work, you have the 3D printing, the molding, the casting side. I think it looks great. I love the blue and the gold. They work so well together. In broad daylight, the costume looks great. In controlled light, in a studio, it looks incredible. And of course, Hemsworth sells it. He's the biggest he's ever been as Thor in Love and Thunder. His arms are just bulging out of that thing, and to me, that is Thor. The cape placement, the pleats in the cape, it just looks so royal, beautiful. It casts a great shadow. The colors work well together, and honestly, it's one of the highlights of the film. Now, my number 3 is not exactly a live action costume. It was because of a mocap suit, but my number 3 is gonna be Dr. Fate from Black Adam. I'm a big Dr. Fate fan, especially when it comes to the costumes, whether it be from the comics, animation, live action, action figures. I have always loved the design and the aesthetic of Dr. Fate. And in Black Adam, Dr. Fate, played by Pierce Brosnan, looks incredible. But it is all digital. It is all CGI. Pierce Brosnan wore a mocap suit the entire shoot. You can even hear him confirm this in interviews. The interviewer was essentially saying, I love the costume. What was it like putting it on for the first time? And Pierce was essentially like, I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but I wore the mocap suit the entire time. Regardless, if this were a practical suit, it'd still be incredible. But I'm talking about the design and the way it moves on Pierce. The visual effects that they've achieved with this, especially how it hugs his body, looks incredible. The way the light reflects off it, it's just amazing. It's definitely one of those things where you could 100% do this in a practical suit and it would look incredible, given the right muscular understructure with a muscle suit and stuff like that, the textured fabric, the cast pieces of his armor, the helmet, the cape as well. A good old-fashioned practical cape would just be amazing. I know this is a digital thing, but I absolutely adore the look of this costume in Black Adam. And while we're on the topic of Black Adam, coming in at number 2 is the Black Adam costume worn by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. So you remember months and months ago, I did a video on those leaked set photos of the Black Adam costumes all lined up on coat hangers. At one point, Warner Brothers went after me and said, no, you cannot do that. Either way, it got me really psyched because looking at the textured fabric, the urethane pieces, the chest emblem, everything looked incredible. We then had The Rock teasing him in the suit from all different angles and not really giving much away. And then we saw the reveal and I thought, that looks like Black Adam to me. Sans the pointy ears and that beautiful hair, but regardless, I think The Rock did an incredible job as Black Adam and he sells it in that suit. The fact that pretty much the only padding he has in that suit is in the shoulders is incredible, due to his incredible physique that was totally naturally achieved. But to me, the costume looks its best at the end of the film. When it's final form costume, you have the gold trimmings and that glorious cape. Absolutely love it. We obviously see his confrontation with Henry Cavill's Superman at the end credits sequence, and that's what I would have loved to have seen throughout the entire film. But for narrative reasons, he had to start off with a much more dreary, darker looking suit. But by the end, we have the royal final form Black Adam. I'm all here for it. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to see that again anytime soon. As we know, with all the hoo-ha that's been going on at Warner Brothers, The Rock apparently is no longer going to be playing Black Adam. After a 15-year journey, that's heartbreaking, man. And it's also heartbreaking that I'm probably never going to see that suit ever again on film. And coming in at number 1, and you knew that this was going to be my number 1, Geeks and Geekettes, is Robert Pattinson's The Batman costume from Matt Reeves' The Batman. A very unconventional Batsuit when you first look at it, but given the fact that he's been Batman for 2 years, he is a fresh Batman doing what's called the Gotham Project. This suit totally makes sense from a practical standpoint, and the suit has really grown on me, clearly because I'm using elements of it with my latest Batsuit. Pattinson obviously sells it in the suit. He's an incredible Batman. I definitely think it's going to be one of those things where the second and third film from Matt Reeves, we're going to see an evolution of this Batsuit, and from a storytelling standpoint, a practicality standpoint, and a utility standpoint, this Batsuit makes sense. From the hand-stitched cowl with all the dings, scratches in it, you have a police issue belt with all bells and whistles, the adrenaline. I love the fact that Batman has adrenaline on him, or Bane Venom, whatever you want to go with. The combat in the film is incredible, and the suit moves so well when they utilize that combat. And whilst we're talking about being practical, the chest emblem is also a knife. Brilliant. The cape is a squirrel suit, and I also love the fact that we see him afraid of heights in the film. This is essentially the first time he's tested the squirrel suit that also doubles as a cape. You got the heavy Austrian Kaz combat boots. You know, it's not some high-tech boot that Wayne Enterprises made. No, these are combat boots. Pre-existing real-world combat boots with spats covering him, they're covered in mud. He's filthy by the end of the film, and I love it. He just gets down and dirty in that suit. It took a while for the suit to grow on me at first, but now I absolutely love it, and I can't wait to see the evolution and what we see next with 2 and 3 in the Matt Reeves universe. And there we go, Geeks and Geekettes. Those are my top picks for 2022's live-action superhero costumes. Please let me know down below what your picks are, what stood out most to you. Guys, wherever you are in the world, please have yourselves an absolute cracker of a day. I hope you're well. Hope you're happy. Be merry, be silly. And until next time, Geeks and Geekettes, please always remember, cosplayers do it best.